everybody, welcome back to Southern Gal True Crime, or if this is your first time here, thank you so much for choosing to watch this video. And today I have another video in our Unsolved series where I share unsolved homicides. I do have a playlist of, so please check out the playlist for the previous videos that I have done. These are very important cases that need more awareness brought to them. And the one that I'm going to share with you today, I found just browsing through my Facebook feed, which is actually how I find most of the cases that I do share here on the YouTube channel. And I found a post, and this case is the Lesley Woodman homicide from Alabama. And actually, her daughter had posted on Facebook sharing a new Dateline Cold Case Spotlight article that had been published in October of this year, 2025. And the daughter just was pleading, obviously, for any information. She just wanted to keep her mom's name and her face and her story out there to try to get some closure, information, anything at all on her mom's case. So that's why, and it's been a decade, actually it's been 11 years now since this homicide happened. So I always like to share cases that come up on anniversary dates. So regarding Lesley's case, Lesley Woodman's homicide does remain a significant unsolved case in Bessemer, Alabama. On November 10th of 2014, her daughter, Whitney Burr, did discover her mother deceased in her home. The investigation has focused on the last known sighting of Lesley, which was by her boyfriend, and the subsequent burglary of her neighbor's house. And we'll get into how that may be connected when I read the article. Despite the extensive evidence and numerous leads, the case does still remain unsolved, once again, over a decade now. Whitney does continue to seek answers and has expressed her desire for justice. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is still actively seeking information from the public to help solve Lesley's case. So Whitney Burr, who is Lesley's daughter, was planning a party for her son's first birthday, which was just 3 days away. At the time, she was pregnant with her second child. So Whitney and her mother, 35-year-old Lesley Woodman, were supposed to go to Party City that day to get some supplies for the celebration. Whitney says, quote, "The last time I spoke to her was the night before, but then all that day I could not get her on the phone, and she always answered the phone, so I just didn't feel right about it," end quote. Whitney's boyfriend at the time drove her and their son over to the home that Lesley shared with her boyfriend, Ellis Lee Bentley, in Bessemer, Alabama, to check on her. Whitney says that the door was open, the screen door was closed, and she walked in the house alone. So as Whitney made her way through the house looking for her mother, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She said it just looked like a normal day. Nothing was missing. Nothing was broken. She says everything was where it was supposed to be. But then Whitney then made her way to her mother's bedroom, where she made a horrifying discovery. Whitney said, quote, "She was in the bed. Someone came in and shot her in the face," end quote. I just cannot imagine having to discover my loved one that way. So Jimmy Guyton, who is Lesley's mother and was living in Florida when her daughter was the victim of a homicide. However, she happened to be driving through Alabama a few days prior to that. Jimmy said, quote, "I just decided to stop by her work. We had a good conversation. She told me that she loved me, and I told her that I loved her," end quote. Jimmy describes her daughter as a curious, talented, joyous young woman. She said Lesley was just really funny, and outgoing. People from her work used to compliment her on how sweet she was and how understanding she was. Jimmy remembers her daughter's life as vibrant. She reminisced on her childhood as a cheerleader, a gymnast. She was an academically gifted student. Jimmy said that Lesley, quote, she was in a special class at school for kids who were smart, and they gave them extra work. She was a delightful little girl. She hardly ever cried. She just had that old spirit, end quote. Whitney says that her mom was doing really, really well when her life was cut short, and said that their mother-daughter bond was strong. She said they were very close, and that her mom was very much her best friend. Around 2012 or 2013, Lesley started dating Ellis Lee Bentley, who goes by Lee. Lee says that he and Lesley met because Whitney was friends with his daughter. He said that he liked her, right off the bat. He said jokingly that Lesley would not go out with him the first few times that he asked. He said, I asked her out about every day, and finally she did. And from the day we started dating, we didn't really leave each other's side. Lesley was infectiously cheerful person, according to Lee. He said it was one of the many qualities that made him fall for her. He said that you'd be in a bad mood and she would come around, and then you would be in a good mood. She was always happy. I never really saw her down. Lee says that he and Lesley moved into their home in Bessemer about 6 months after they started dating. On the night of November 9th, 2014, Lee remembers Lesley saying that she was going to buy supplies the next day for her grandson's first birthday party. He says, quote, I remember her being really happy about that. It was a big deal. Lee told Dateline that he left for work the next morning while Lesley was still sleeping. He says, I didn't wake her up. When I left, he says, I'm sure I gave her a kiss like I did every morning. He remembers leaving the house around 8 a.m. He said that he was running late. He said he ran out the door. He did not lock the door, but he says, I always had locked the door before. What Whitney saw later that day has haunted her for a decade. She says, quote, a lot of the time, the only thing I can see is her in that manner when I found her in the bed with a hole in her face, end quote. She said Whitney, who was just 18 years old at the time, says that she was hysterical after finding her mother. She said she tried to call the police, but she just couldn't. Her then boyfriend, who had been waiting outside in the car with their son, eventually came into the house to see what was going on. Whitney says that he ended up calling the police. She says, quote, he took the phone and explained to them what happened because I could not. So it was up to Robert to tell Jimmy that her daughter was dead. Jimmy said, Bob picked me up from work. We went down the street to my friend's house, and he told me that she was gone, that Lesley was gone. She goes on to say, I said, what do you mean she's gone? Where did she go? And then he finally said, that she had been the victim of a homicide. The kind of heartbreak of losing a child, Jimmy told Dateline, cannot be put into words. When she heard the news, she said part of her brain wouldn't let her believe it. She said, of course, it was horrible. She said, I loved her more than anything, and I just could not feature not having her. For the past decade, Lesley's family has tried to think of anyone who could have wanted to harm her. Jimmy said that she had a lot of friends, but nobody that they knew of had, they thought, did not mean her any kind of harm. There was nobody that crossed their minds. They said everybody just loved Lesley. Whitney also shared a detail about the way in which she found her mother's body that she still wonders about today. She said, quote, the odd part was that her pants were pulled down. She was definitely asleep because my mother slept with her hands together, and that's how I found her, end quote. So Lee Bentley told Dateline the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office questioned him several times in the months following Lesley's homicide. He said he told them everything he knew. He said he didn't have anybody that he knew of that would do anything like this to Lesley. He said it wasn't a bad neighborhood that they lived in. Lee says the only thing taken from the house was a small lockbox that belonged to him. He said, quote, "That's all they took. I used to keep money in it, and that's the only thing I can figure that would be why they would just take that one thing," end quote. So Jimmy and Whitney both told Dateline about a house near Lesley and Lee's home in Bessemer that had been burglarized on the same day of Lesley's homicide. Dateline reached out to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office Public Information Office multiple times for comment on the case. They did not hear back. In 2017, Sergeant Wayne Curry of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office told a local news outlet he believes the burglary, in which he said a firearm was among the items stolen, and Lesley's homicide are connected. However, he said, quote, "We haven't ruled out anything. We haven't ruled out any reason because we just don't know," end quote. Lee Bentley says the aftermath of Lesley's homicide left him feeling lost. He did keep living in their home for just a short period until he says that he just could not stay there anymore. He says he now chooses to reflect not on Lesley's death, but on the happy memories he has, like the first date. He said that on the first date, they talked till daylight and that he misses her every day. He also longs for the day that Lesley's case is solved. He says, quote, "For a while, it consumed me. I want to know who did it so bad. I want to know who came in my house and just violated it. I mean, yes, I would love this case to be solved. Anything in my power, I would do for this case to be solved," end quote. So Whitney, who is now the mother of 5, realizes the pain of losing her own mother, and finding her in the way that she did is something from which she may never fully heal. She said it's just really, really hard. She says, "I can't say it. It's been 10 years, but it's just as hard as it was day one." Jimmy Guyton takes comfort knowing that whoever did take the life of her daughter will be brought to justice. She says, "I would like to see them punished, but I don't have to see it to know that they will be, because down the line, when they have to stand before God, He knows what they did and He will deal with it." So anyone with information about Lesley's homicide is asked to contact the Bessemer office of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office at 205-481-4201. So just once again, a heartbreaking story. It's always so hard to read these interviews with the family members, but it is just so important to share this information, to bring more awareness to cases like Lesley's, so that hopefully some tips will come in. The family can get some type of closure, so we can do our part here to help bring more awareness to Lesley's case by giving the video a like. Please leave a comment below, even just an emoji. But the most important thing we can do is share the video anywhere and everywhere you can to all your social media platforms, so that Lesley's name, her face, her story stays out there, so that she is never forgotten. If you would like to learn more about cases such as Lesley's, please consider subscribing. If you would like to donate to the channel so that we can keep bringing you these cases, check out the donation links in the About section of the channel, or somewhere down below this video. There's a little button that says thanks. You can just hit that, do a one-time donation for the video. As always, thanks for watching. Have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.